In today's climate, nothing will make you a more accurate or confident shooter than Crimson Trace laser sighting systems. Get the immediate, decisive advantage of the world's only grip-integrated laser sights today. Shoot better. Stay safer. Crimson Trace.
The number one national voice in defense of your Second Amendment rights. Gun Talk, available on iTunes and on the free Gandhi Leo smartphone app for Android and iPhone. To be on the air with Tom, call us now, 866-825-5486 or 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom.
Alrighty, it is I, Tom Gresham, and we're talking about guns today. What else do you think we're going to do? By the way, we need to have a huge Gun Talk welcome to WJHC 107.5 FM in Jasper, Florida area, Gun Talk live on Sundays. Boy, glad to have that up in North Florida. Great deal. We have talked a lot about what's going on the national level, but a lot of the action these days is in the states. As we have seen, frankly, the gun ban groups, the victim disarmament lobby, has not been able to push anything through in Congress. And so they're moving to the states more and more. One of the groups that's been fighting on a state level, probably as long as anybody, and certainly one of the most effective, is called GOLD, Gun Owners Action League in Massachusetts. And now they have at least a couple of things going on in Massachusetts that really got my attention, so we asked Jim Wallace from Gold to join us. Jim, what the heck is going on up there?
Hey, Tom, how we doing? It's been a while.
I am good. I'm looking at this thing in Lowell. What is this? You're going to have to take an essay test before you can get a carry permit? What's this?
Yeah, actually, the city of Lowell, it's been a big complaint from those folks for a long, long time. And the previous policy, believe it or not, Tom, was that the only way you could get an unrestricted license to carry in the city of Lowell was if you had already been a victim of violent crime. Well, the citizens of Lowell got fed up with that and decided to approach their city council and their local police chief and said, "Hey, this policy is unfair. We want to change this. Everybody should have the right to keep and bear arms." And unfortunately, they decided to make improvements, and the three improvements were that they would look at everybody on a case-by-case basis, but that you, above and beyond all of the state background checks and the state mandatory firearm safety training that you have to go through in order to get a license here, that the city council and the chief decided that you should get more training. The courses they're talking about from, I think it's from SIG Arms Academy, you run about $1,100 and take, I guess, 5 days to go through. You would also need 2 letters of reference from people who would attest to your physical and mental ability to own and use a gun. And then you would have to write a letter or essay to the chief explaining why you believe you should be able to exercise your unrestricted rights. And then after you've done all that, then the chief would consider giving you a unrestricted license, but doesn't mean you're going to get one.
That is absolutely outrageous. What's the reaction been to this?
Well, it's actually, as you can see, I mean, we're on the phone now, it's actually gotten national attention because what we have called this is a modern poll tax for gun owners, because it's exactly what it is. And now that we've actually exposed the city of Lowell for what they're doing, more and more other cities or I should say citizens of other cities are coming forward saying they too have had to go through other issues. One of them is the city of Woburn. I guess you actually have to take a written exam on the gun laws before you'll be considered for a license to carry. Now, the interesting thing is, Tom, these cities and towns that are putting extra requirements in front of you, the state won't even know that you've applied for a license, because until you get through these extra hurdles, you won't even be entered into the system as having applied. So one of the interesting things that's coming across is, a reporter in the State House the other day actually said, Jim, I'm going to do a story on the cities that have the highest refusal rate. And I said, well, you won't be able to know that number. And he goes, no, I went to the State Firearms Record Bureau. I said, you won't be able to know because many people aren't in the system as having applied until they get through this, I guess, outer circle of chief's discretion. So it's really quite a system we have here, unfortunately. And we testified Wednesday in the State House at a public hearing that, hey, we have a state-mandated license system. We don't agree with it at all, but it's there. You folks need to get control of your system because right now you have no control of it. You have no idea who's applying for a license, who's denied, why they're denied, those that actually get a license but their licenses are restricted and why they're restricted. You don't have a clue. So it's about time you stood up and started taking responsibility for your own system.
For those who don't know, Jim mentioned the poll tax. If your history lesson did not cover that, back in Reconstruction in a number of states in the South, black people were charged a fee to register to vote, making it impossible for them to vote. It's kind of like the old literacy test. I remember the great story of the old black man who went in to register to vote, and they said they had a literacy test that they had, totally illegal, of course, and they handed him a paper, said, you just have to read this paper, and the man could read, and they handed him a paper that was in Chinese, and the fellow said, do you know what that says? And said the black gentleman looked at it, says, yeah, it says no black people are going to vote in this county. That's what's going on with your Lowell and these other places. Basically, you can submit the essay, but what the essay actually says is nobody's going to get a gun permit here.
Yeah, now you may get a permit, but that permit would basically be restricted, so you could use it for target shooting, which means you cannot carry it loaded. You'd have to, when you transport it from your house to the range, it would have to be unloaded and locked in a container, or in the trunk. So it's completely useless to use for self-defense. And,
All right. Let me ask you one other question here.
Sure.
Let me jump to this because I just saw something on your website. I've got to ask you about this because it feels like this is where we came in some 200 and some odd years ago. Lexington may ban common firearms and magazines. Isn't that exactly what started the American Revolution in Lexington?
Well, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? There
just a bit.
Been a very well-organized effort within Massachusetts, especially in the last year and a half, to put in local ordinances that would either ban possession or ban carrying or ban discharge. Each effort has been just a little bit different, but it's pretty well organized. Now, we've been able to defeat virtually everyone we have found out about in time, but the problem is what they do is they file notice at local level, and every town in Massachusetts is different on how they run their government. It could be a board of selectmen, it could be city council, it could be what they call a public meeting or an open meeting. Some of them actually have meeting members. Not every citizen gets to vote, so it's a little different as to how things happen. And they're doing this because they know they've lost at the federal level. They've even pretty much lost at the state level. So they're trying to find different ways to push through, these gun control efforts to restrict people's civil rights. And again, we testified the other day in the State House that the state should pass a preemption law because we cannot have a patchwork of gun laws in the state of Massachusetts. For instance, if Lexington passes this proposal, if you happen to be driving through on your way to, say, the Concord Run Gun Club, you're subject to arrest if you happen to have one of these firearms or magazines with you in the car. So it's one of those things that, they're going to find different ways to come at us, and we have to adapt and deal with it. And so far we are, but Lexington's a little different, so we'll see what happens.
All right. It also points out, Jim, the need for everybody, every gun owner needs to be a member of their state organization and also needs to start getting involved in watching the published agendas of the city council or whatever your governing board is, and look at the agenda every week that they publish out there. And when you see something, you're the early tripwire. Let your state organization know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a tripwire, you're going to send those flares up so we know what's going on, and then we can react and alert all the other members and organize them to defeat these issues. And, you know, it's not over, folks, just because we won Heller and McDonald.
No, and in fact, I think it's escalated. It's moved it to a lot of different battlefronts, from the national to the state to the local. The group is called GOAL, GOAL.org. You can find out more about what's going on there. Jim, thank you for sharing this. Keep up the good work, my friend.
All right, Tom. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
All righty, you take care. You got to get involved. You have to get involved. You have to volunteer. You have to be there. You have to be part of it. Hey, we're all warriors in this battle. You're either in it or you're on the side and we're having to carry your weight. You don't want to be that guy, do you? 866-TALK-GUN.
The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have Gandhi Leo, the free app for your smartphone. Gandhi Leo delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get Gandhi Leo. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with Gandhi Leo. GandhiLeo.com.
What makes a legacy? Is it quality? Craftsmanship? Maybe it's the idea that every American deserves their right to security and peace of mind on and off the battlefield. What makes a legacy? Here at Colt, we're making it every day. Colt, built one at a time, proven every round.
Los Angeles police warn residents to arm themselves because of long response times. According to the Police Protective League president, Jamie McBride, he's saying that the citizens need to know they need to be able to protect themselves because if they call 911, we can't guarantee we're going to get there in time to help you. This is not new. They've never been there in time to help you. I mean, well, possibly, but you can't count on that. It would be foolish to think, I'm going to call 911 in the middle of getting assaulted and they're going to show up. Along those same lines, we were just talking about this. Had a caller, I get this email. It says, every time I park on someone's lot, I see it too. People walking around with a phone up to their ears. I've tried to explain the danger to a few women I've seen doing this. I stop so as not to walk toward them and possibly scare them. Some seem to understand what I'm telling them about watching for a bad guy, and others roll their eyes and tell me this area has security cameras. I tell them that as a former police department officer, I have made many calls to parking lots following a crime, and the bad guy has left with their purse or whatever. Sad truth, Most won't learn until it happens to them. Talk to your family members. You are not allowed to be using a telephone for any purpose. Texting, looking at Facebook, talking on the phone, because talking on the phone pulls some of your available headroom, your brain power away, and you're not watching things. Security cameras? Really? I'm not really concerned about them catching the bad guy after he mugs me or he kidnaps a family member, because that's what security cameras do. They help catch the bad guy after it's over. It's up to you and no one else to prevent this from happening, primarily through being aware and avoiding the situation in the first place. You got to get your warrior gene working here. You're either a warrior or you're a victim. Doesn't mean you got to be yelling at people or doing ninja kicks or any of that kind of stuff. You just got to keep your head up, be aware, be alert, and have a plan. It's amazing. It's amazing how many people. Well, you know what? There are always going to be more sheep than there are wolves and sheepdogs. Just the way it is. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's see here. Line 2, Ben, Bozeman, Montana. What's up, Ben?
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I have just been listening to your show for the first time in the last 40 minutes, and I absolutely love it. I think I found my new favorite Sunday afternoon radio show.
Thank you.
Yeah, not to change the subject, but this goes back to what Kathy was saying about taking that guy to the range and whatnot. I grew up in the northwest side of Chicago, and I now live out here in Montana. And I've grown up with guns in the house my entire life. Way before that I could remember, my father said that he had me walk around with a empty, 6-shooter. The drum wasn't in there, so couldn't accidentally shoot me or someone else. But I have a dilemma. I married a Canadian, which is completely against guns. The other night we were talking, she said, "You have all these guns, you never use them. You got all this ammunition." I really enjoy reloading, and so I got many rounds. But anyhow, it got me thinking, why do I have all these? And I guess my question to you is, people that go shooting every day or once a week, like, what mentality do they have? Maybe I'm just approaching it at
sure. All right. I mean, let me see if I can rephrase this. The basic question is, how do I explain to my wife why I enjoy this so much? Is that a fair way to explain? Okay. It's this way. Well, first of all, the easiest way is to get her to the range and have her have fun. Have her shoot a .22. I guess the answer is, look, shooting is a very individual sport. It is a sport that happens mentally. It's between your ears. You can never master it. It's like playing bridge. You can get good at it. You can get better at it. You will never bring it to its knees. There's always a way to get better at it, and it is the pursuit of that is so interesting. And because it's complex, because part of it is me being a better shooter, part of it is the equipment, and it is fascinating equipment and how it works, and the ammunition and tuning everything together. There's always something to tinker with. It is an endless pursuit that is personally pleasurable to me, that harms no one.
How do you try to convince someone that it is, I don't want to call her hard-headed or stubborn or anything, but she refuses to go shooting with me. I haven't gone shooting for probably 2 years, but in that 2 years I probably bought 15 guns and whatnot. But how do you convince or argue to someone to try to change their point of view when they just, guns are bad, guns kill people? Yeah.
Well, okay, you got a basic problem here. One is that you haven't been shooting in 2 years. You got to fix that. You need to be shooting at least once a month, or you're not competent with your guns. You got guns that you don't know how to use. So, I mean, just as a personal deal, forget everything else, you got to shoot at least once a month. Number two, I would just say, look, here's the thing. You don't know what you're talking about. If you haven't been shooting with me, if you won't try this, then your opinion has no value. Because frankly, I will tell you, and people say, oh, that's harsh. That's a husband telling that to a wife. I get it. But you know what? If she's telling you, if she's really down on guns and gun ownership and down on you for this, then it's time for somebody to have a little come to Jesus meeting here, which is, okay, you want to know what this is about? Then you are going to have to suck it up and go to the range with me and give it a good, honest try. And maybe, here's what I would suggest. Get her signed up with a woman firearms instructor, and you are not part of the deal. You go away, because you guys have too many relationship issues going on right now. So just say, look, if you want to understand this, and for us to be able to have this conversation, you're going to have to try this sport that I love. And until you do that, then frankly, I don't think you have any position in this. You don't have a leg to stand on. And while I love you, I'm not going to listen to your arguments. That would be how I would approach it.
Okay. With what you said, I will have to check into the women's shooting. I'm not sure exactly what the Bozeman area has, but we have a 6.5-month-old son, and one thing that Kathy had said that really struck something with me is when I was little, and I do remember this, my dad had me shoot a 12 gauge. I was not ready for it. It hurt, and maybe it scared me a little bit. But do you have any pointers when my son Luke gets old enough or of age? Obviously, start him off small. But
yes. Let me jump in because we're short on time. First of all, you have a new baby. You have to have your guns locked away. Period. None of this, well, it's up where he can't get it. No, forget all that. You've got to have those guns secured. You cannot have any loaded guns where he can get to them. He can always get to stuff before you think. When he's 2, he'll be able to get to things when you think he can't. So that's number one. Number 2 is you'll understand when he's ready. Obviously start off with a 22, always with a 22. Let me say one more time, with a 22, okay? You'll get it figured out. In the meantime, you got to do some more shooting, dude. You got guns and ammo? That's what they're there for.
Sign up for our Gun Talk newsletter and join the Truth Squad at www.guntalk.com. Now, back to Gun Talk with Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
All righty, back with you. 866-TALK-GUN. Get you in here. Shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. Over on Twitter, I'm at GunTalk. A lot of ways to communicate. If you want to know what's going on with gun rights throughout the week, the best way to know that is to follow me on Twitter. I have, basically it's a news feed. Sometimes I put my thoughts on there, but I'm not going to tell you, hey, I'm having scrambled eggs for breakfast. That's not what I do with Twitter. Basically, I use it to find the stories out there that you need to know about, and I put them up there so you can look at them. So if you want to be the smartest guy or gal in the room when it comes to rights, gun rights, you will be if you're following me on Twitter. So go ahead and sign up. Share that information, by the way. Line 1, Bill's with us out of North Dakota. You have an interesting idea. What are you proposing here, Bill?
Well, I would say you know a lot of people, and I wanted to see what you think about this, about having a Second Amendment Day. We got a Flag Day, Arbor Day, St. Patrick's Day, Flag Day, all kinds of days. But if we had all the states that are legal to carry open carry, that everybody could carry open carry that day, that Second Amendment Day. You'd educate the media, the police, and the politicians of, you'd educate the entire country just by the media would do it by themselves. And I'm sure a lot of gun manufacturers, holster manufacturers would promote it, and you could do it on Facebook and all these other media things. Just Second Amendment Day.
Let me ask you a question. Are you talking about having a national day where that every state would have a Second Amendment Day? Would make it like a national day?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The whole country could, on any state that is legal, and if it ain't legal, then they could you could educate the people in that state that, hey, this is your Second Amendment right, and anything that comes against that is an infringement against the Constitution of the United States.
There you go. Okay, well, thanks for the call. It's an interesting idea. National Second Amendment Day. I'm not sure exactly how that would manifest itself, but it doesn't strike me as crazy. It's an idea. What do you think? Line 3, Justin's with us out of Illinois. Hey, Justin, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I made myself grin from ear to ear, and my father as well. I've heard you talk about how a good trigger can make you a much better shooter, and I've got my 3-inch 629, and I absolutely love it. It's my daily shooter when I go out to the range, and but it always had the real heavy stacking of that most Smith & Wessons have, and as soon as the hammer goes to drop, my muzzle would always shift off target just a little bit. Yep. I dry fired. I practiced as much as I could. I could never get it to stop. So I spent the $65, and I went to a local gunsmith who has a pretty good reputation. And since it's a carry gun, I didn't have him make it real light. I kept the factory spring kit, just do a smooth and tune, and get rid of the stacking. Well, because of this, took us to the range, and I was actually able to hit. My dad was with me. I was actually able to hit a milk jug at 50 yards, double action, iron sights.
Nice.
And it was amazing. And I've never been an awesome shooter by any means, but I consider myself decent. But after I got this action job done, before my father was there, I actually tried it at 100 yards and did it. And and only within 2 cylinders. I shot it twice, and the other 10 I couldn't believe it. But
I love what you're describing is, and I say this all the time. It's like a better trigger will make you a better shooter. When we have John on here from Timney Triggers, we talk about it, and everybody goes, "Yeah, well, I've already got a trigger." I go, "I know, and I know you don't understand until you've tried the better trigger." And it doesn't have to your point, it doesn't have to be, Justin, a whole lot better trigger. It just has to be a better trigger, and you can really tell the difference, right?
Oh, it was substantial. And the best part about it was my dad couldn't hit the jug, and I did.
I love it. Attaboy. That's a way to go. Hey, Justin, thank you for sharing that. That's a great story. Anytime you can beat your dad shooting, that's a good thing. All right, we still have time to get Casey in here on line 4 out of Farmington, New Mexico. Casey, you're up.
Hey, Tom, just 2 quick things briefly. One is the deal in Massachusetts. I think a couple of lawyers and some other people ought to get together, write a really concise, brief summary of your liberties under Heller and McDonald, write it as a court brief, and submit it as the essay to a good candidate for his license. If it doesn't work, you sue. If it does work, you just propagate that so that everybody can use it, and everybody that is trying to get a license uses that letter as their essay.
Well, it would be a workaround, but of course the point is you shouldn't have to do that in the first place. And so what you really want to do is not figure out how do we write something they will accept, because all they have to do is say, yeah, we accepted that, but we're not going to accept that one, and now you're back to the lawsuit. You said they need to stop this altogether.
I totally agree. And what they're doing is they're trying to build in so many layers of discretion that you essentially don't have rule of law anymore. You have rule of man.
Correct. Exactly right.
This just makes one of their major layers of discretion inert. It nullifies the effect. And you're right, it absolutely needs to go away. You shouldn't have to apply to own, or you can carry a loaded firearm as long as you're a law-abiding citizen. That is just ridiculous. But I think...
Right. Okay, and your other point?
Well, the other point is Montana. That fine young man that called in, and his wife is a Canadian who doesn't own guns. I think this is just, with all due respect to him and his wife, this is just another example of an immigrant who refuses to assimilate. It's no more complicated than that.
Blame it on the Canadians. There you go. I love it. Blame Canada. There you go. All right, 866-TALK-GUN. Back in a minute with more Gun Talk.
Crossbreed Holsters is broadening our product selection to serve more of your concealed carry needs. With products handmade in the USA, like the bedside backup, gun belts, and of course our world-famous Super Tuck and Mini Tuck holsters, we understand what works, and we take pride in providing you with a quality product. At Crossbreed Holsters, we live and breathe concealed carry. We make and sell products that we believe in and products that our customers love. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsman Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Who will you trust with your guns and valuables? Liberty safes are the best built and most secure safes on the planet. They sell more gun safes than any other brand. It's about trust earned through performance. If your Liberty safe is damaged by fire or attempted break-in, they'll send a new safe right to your home. Protection from thieves and fire. Trust the #1 maker of quality gun safes. LibertySafe.com.
Hi, this is Joe. I bought a silencer from Silencer Shop, and it was a pretty amazing experience. I simply went to silencershop.com, followed the instructions, purchased my silencer, and they took care of the rest. My local firearm dealer called me when my silencer arrived. Did you know a silencer is an important accessory that offers an added hearing protection and greater shooting accuracy? It's great for hunters and those who want to enjoy more social interaction during shooting sports. Visit silencershop.com to find a silencer for your firearm.
The Ruger American Rifle is a 100% American-made firearm that offers outstanding performance at a great price. Available in standard size and compact models, it features power bedding integral bedding blocks, a Ruger Marksman adjustable trigger, a flush-fit 4-round rotary magazine, and a 3-lug bolt with 70-degree throw. Compact models feature a shorter length of pull and a shorter barrel for a reduction in overall length of more than 5 inches. The Ruger American Rifle, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
Oh, here's another one of the lies being told by the Democrats right now. I mean, how do you count them? But here you go. Congressional Democrats introduced legislation Wednesday to allow gun violence victims to sue weapons manufacturers and dealers who sell products to criminals. Well, actually, that's not what they did. It's a lie. Remember, you may not remember, late 1990s, there were 30-plus lawsuits against gun makers filed by cities across the U.S. It was a very well-orchestrated effort. They sued gun makers saying that they were responsible in some form or fashion for the criminal misuse of guns in these cities, and they wanted to make the gun makers pay for police protection, for medical care, for all of the ramifications of the misuse of guns. Actually, the people who put this together were the lawyers who made billions, with a B, billions of dollars from suing the tobacco companies. And they said, we can do the same things to the gun companies. And they went to the cities and said, look, here's the deal. It won't cost you a penny. We got you back, Jack. We're going to sue them. You can get a percentage of the money, but we'll carry the load. Well, they didn't know two things. One is they didn't know how small the gun companies were. And two, they didn't understand what was going to happen. They said, we'll just get them to fold. They'll fold like a house of cards, and we'll win and we'll get all this money. But on the gun ban side, the gun ban groups said, and here's the thing, they said it out loud. They said the goal of the lawsuits is to drive gun companies out of business. They will fold under the weight of having to defend so many lawsuits they can't possibly afford to do it. The gun companies spent, depending on which number, I've seen $30 million, I've seen $200 million defending these suits. Not a single one of the lawsuits succeeded. And then after that, Congress said, wait a minute, this is wrong. And they passed a law that's called, let me find the exact word, Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, that prevents legal action against gun makers and sellers if they don't make a defective product and if they don't break the law. So if you make a product as a gun maker that's not defective, you can't be sued by somebody who says, well, somebody misused your gun. The gun worked as it's supposed to. It's safe. If you're a gun seller and you take every precaution and you do everything right and it's not illegal, then you can't be sued. But, and here's where they lie, if a gun maker makes a defective product, that gun maker can be sued. Basic liability. If a gun store breaks the law and sells guns to criminals, knowingly sells to criminals, that gun store can be sued. But Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders keep saying this is the only industry that has no liability, that you can't sue them, for their liability. No, that's not true. You can certainly sue them if they make a defective product or if they engage in a criminal act of selling a gun to somebody who's not supposed to have a gun. But they are protected from lawsuits which seek to hold them responsible for the criminal misuse of the gun by a third party. The exact analogy would be trying to hold General Motors or Ford responsible for when a drunk driver crashes into somebody and kills them. Everybody would say, well, that makes no sense. It's exactly the same thing. So here we have the Democrats coming back and saying we must repeal this law. In other words, what they're saying is we want to be able to reinstate the lawsuits that were filed with the expressed, openly stated intent of destroying the firearms industry. Oh, here's one for you. You've heard of Smith & Wesson, right? You've heard of Toys R Us, right? What's the relative size in terms of revenue? Toys R Us is 25 times larger than Smith & Wesson. What? Well, people all over the world know Smith & Wesson. Yeah, I know. But in terms of actual revenue, how big the companies are, the gun companies are small. The entire gun industry is small. There are companies, mere companies, that are larger than all of the gun industry put together. And so what you have is the Democrats saying, and now Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are campaigning on the idea of destroying. We want to destroy gun companies. We want to make it possible. We want to make it impossible for anybody to be able to make guns in the United States of America. Because there is no other reason for these lawsuits. In fact, they were very open about it when we had them before. They said, our goal is to weigh them down. They were hoping to get to 100 lawsuits. They said, if we could keep building up the number of lawsuits, we could destroy the gun companies because nobody can afford to fight this. Because they're having to use, imagine this, the gun companies have to use their own private money that the company has to fight a lawsuit that is being funded by cities with taxpayer money. Or in this case, by billionaire lawyers who want to try to get money out of them the way they did with the tobacco. Of course, the whole unintended consequences thing, gun companies hardly ever worked together or talked to each other before this, even though the gun banners thought they did. But when they were all faced with total annihilation, they got together and said, okay, we're going to work together for a change. And that's when the gun companies really got active with the National Shooting Sports Foundation as their lobby. They got this law passed which says you can't sue us over the misdeeds of somebody else. Makes total sense. So when you see these reports about this, understand if you see it in the general media, chances are about 92 to 99%. It's not just wrong, it's a lie. And that certainly is the case in this. Their goal is to destroy all the gun companies in America, and they're actually openly admitting it. All righty, here's the deal. If you're on hold right now, don't go away. Don't worry. If we don't get to you right now, we're going to get to you in the after show. You'll be a part of that. If you've not partaken in the after show, you can call me right now. Maybe we'll get you in there too. 866-TALK-GUN. If you have not heard the after show, boy, are you in for some fun. Grab the Gandhi Leo app. It's going to be the easiest way for you to do that. Just the Gandhi Leo smartphone app. Put it on your smartphone. It's free. And you can listen to the after show with that. You can listen to all the gun talk. In fact, you can go back and listen to years and years worth of gun talk. If you just kind of have a sad, pathetic life and nothing much else to do, you can listen to gun talk. So there you go. Like me. Line 1, Marshall, Pensacola, Florida. Hey, Marshall.
How we doing, sir?
I'm great. What's up?
Have you heard what's going on down here in Florida with the open carry law they're trying to pass?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, the police are behind the legislation. They want it to pass, and the sheriffs are against it. And the legislators are having a hard time understanding how one law enforcement group would say it was good, and the other one would say it was bad.
Now, brief me up just a second there. Now, is this a bill that would make open carry illegal, or would it ban it there?
It would make it legal, and the case stems from a gentleman who was pulled over, and they saw his concealed weapon, and they arrested him because they got a glimpse of his weapon.
Yeah, therein lies the problem. That's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of times the open carry law, what it really does for you is if a wind blows your shirt and somebody gets a glimpse of your gun, if you don't have that, then you could actually be charged with illegally open carrying. So to your point, so now you've got competing law enforcement agencies or groups with different viewpoints on this, right?
Yes, and one of our NRA representatives down here said that the NRA does have the statistics where concealed permit owners have their gun license revoked less than law enforcement. And I think that statistic needs to be out there, and he says that one of the reasons they don't release it is they want to keep their good standing with law enforcement. But
what they're saying is it makes the cops mad when you say, look, people with carry permits are actually more law-abiding than cops are. Which is, look, that's the reality. Now, you know who originally, here's the beauty of this. You know who originally did that study? The Florida Department of Law Enforcement. We're going back 20 years. And they found that the average person who has a carry permit commits a crime at roughly 1% of the average public, somebody who doesn't have a permit. So the average person walking down the street who does not have a concealed carry permit is 100 times more likely to commit a crime than is someone who has a permit. And where the police follow them, that's a whole different issue. And I understand people go, oh, you can't say that about the cops. Well, you know what? Facts are facts. You know, don't blame me. I'm just the messenger. I'm merely a conduit through which information flows. So what happens in Florida? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, and Marshall, thank you for the call. If you're in Florida, you got to get involved in this, because if you have a carry permit and you reach up to grab something off of a top shelf at a store and your gun flashes for a moment, you should not be charged with a crime. You should not have the police come and handcuff you. That's just wrong. We need open carry in every state, if for no other reason than that. And if you are a concealed carry person, you need to support open carry because of that. We're all in this boat together. It reminds me of the hunters who, I like that kind of hunting, but I don't like that kind of hunting. Really? You don't understand that when they get rid of those guys who are coming after you? Same here. They get rid of the open carry, they're coming after you, your concealed carry guys. All righty. If you're on hold, don't go anywhere. We're going to roll right into the after show. If you missed that, you can check it out online. Have a safe week.